Hello everyone, I'm Hades with Eidolon Publishing, and today I'm going to give tutorials for both new DMs and veteran DMs on how to install and run Arc A of Curse of Strahd Reloaded. First thing you're going to want to do once you boot up your Foundry is you're going to want to go over to Game Systems and install the latest versions of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. As of recording, the current version is 5.2.4, and we do not have any backwards compatibility. There's no guarantee if you use an older version of 5e that the module is going to be compatible, but we are going to make a point of trying to make all future versions of D&D 5e compatible with any future arcs. Once you have that installed, go ahead and head over to Add-on Modules, click Install Module, and at the very bottom here where it says Manifest URL, go ahead and paste in the module link that you're going to be able to find either on our Patreon or on our website or wherever else you might find it or come across it. Once you install it, it is going to ask you to optionally install the dependencies. I recommend doing that automatically so you have all of the assistant modules going in when you create your world. Once you create your world, go ahead and boot it up and we'll get on setting it up. All right, here we are in our server. Once you get to here, you're going to want to navigate over to the Game Settings tab and then go to Manage Modules. Once you're in here, go ahead and toggle these modules here, which should be all essentials aside from a few optional dependencies. However, they're highly recommended. And once you have that, save module settings and everything should refresh and you should have the full suite available. From there, you're going to want to navigate to Compendium Packs and find Curse of Strahd Reloaded, Arc A, Escape from Death House. The rest of these are individual subfolders that are going to have very specific types of content in there, but just click on this and this will be the adventure itself. Once you have this, you click Import Adventure. I've already imported it, so I'm not going to do it again, but you'll be able to see here that it will import the scenes. The actors, these 4 classes here are just going to be for our sample actors. Items, which are both going to be for the Barovian relics in character creation. And the rest of the items as divided by floors for ease of access. Journals, which is going to be all of the lore bits and for the adventure itself. Tables, which only exists for character creation and the random books in case any of your players try to plunder the library. So once you have everything imported, you'll be brought here to your very first map. If you're not, go ahead and open up the Arc A folder and activate Durst Manor. Once you're here in Durst Manor, you're not going to have these little actors. You're going to have to set up your player character actors as is needed. But you're going to see, first things first, is your time trigger. Now, our time trigger, happily made by our dearest Talonor, is going to be your way of tracking time as your players traverse their way through the Death House. Now, by default, I believe it comes in at 12:30. However, if you just double click on the time here, you'll be able to custom input whatever time you'd like. Obviously, the adventure starts at 6 p.m. and will last for 6 hours until the witching hour of midnight. So you'll be able to go through here. Once you've input the time, this button will toggle automatic real-time flow, which means that time passage in real life will correspond with how the clock keeps time. So a minute in real life will translate to a minute on the clock if you want to keep time that way. Otherwise, the module does have means of recommending how much time passages per floor. I believe by default, it says that it's only 20 minutes per floor. So once your players get to the second floor, you can just add 15 plus 5. Let's say they need a short rest, half hour twice, boom. And this will carry on between scenes. So if we go to the Durst Dungeon, for example, you will once again see that the time is constant between any and all scenes. Now, for veteran DMs out there, we understand that there are other timekeeping modules, such as the Ripper 93 Simple Timekeeping, Calendaria, Symbol Calendar by Fantasy Works. All of those tether into the exact same Foundry API, so you can use all of those instead of Eidolon utilities. This is just the one that we made in-house for anyone who just needs something short, simple, and sweet to set up. In the future, we hope to have something that tethers into the native Foundry API as the D&D version updates more and more. Let's go back to Durst Manor and check out what we see. So first things first, you're going to see a lot of notes, a lot of doors. All of these map notes are going to be corresponding to journal entries within the game. So if you go here and click 1, that'll pop up the very first entry on Arrival to Death House. Through here, you're going to have grand narration blocks where you can read from the script directly, as well as helpful sections in between, and even hot linked items will bring you straight to other journal entries or items if you intend on using the Barovian Relics hook. Furthermore, if you want an experience more akin to the online Obsidian website, simply go up here where it says single page mode and flip that to multiple page mode. Now you'll be in a way that is acting much like how it works on the web browser. Now for handouts, which you're going to see in spades throughout here, whenever you have something, it's going to have a translation text for any of those who can't read the fonts or handwriting. And if you want to show it to your players as an individual handout, you just want to click on the image. Once it pops out, you want to go up here to the 3 dots and click Show Players. And that'll give them a little bit of a handout. If you have a module like image context, you'll be able to right-click the image and click Send to Chat or click Make Journal Entry, and it should make something separate regardless of what you do. Now, if we look on the outside here, you're going to see 3 tiles, each one of these being a single press button, which all have different functionalities. Let's start with Eldritch Blackout. Now, in the adventure, we have our sample adventurers here who are going to make their way into Death House, into the main vestibule. Once they are inside and make their way into the main hall here, and if you want to see the floors individually so you're not overwhelmed by all the notes and the fading to the other tiles of the other floors, just go ahead and click on this Levels tab right here, and you'll be able to organize which floor you're focusing on at a time. For the sake of this, we're going to keep it on ground level for just a bit here as we go over to our tiles, and we're going to see what the Eldritch Blackout does. Now, as written in the module, all of the outside world is going to become a Vanta Black void, whereas the inside, if we pay attention, will start to fade, the lights will turn off, the ambient fire sounds will also deactivate as all of your players are left in the dark. Now, from their perspective, if we close this levels, everything outside is absolutely pitch black, and the players will see the same as soon as they try to exit. For the sake of just showing you all through this video, we're going to leave the lights on and make it a little easier on ourselves. And let's go ahead and re-enable our levels module. Going through here, each one of these areas have individual containers or things representative of the items that you can find within. For example, if we go into the Hunter's Den and click on Den of Walls, we can see that the cabinets, both are consolidated into a singular item here, but it will show you all what's in the container, the values, the full detailing of those, that are in these sort of containers. You can also find them separately under the Items tab. If you go to the first floor, things that are kept in containers are just listed as the containers. And this is a good opportunity to show you the identification functionality. So we have this mysterious powder, and while you, the DM, are going to be able to see this description right here, because it has not been identified, your players will instead just see this once it reaches their inventory. A brown fibrous powder with an oddly pleasant scent. Now, if you find that one of your players has the ability to identify this material, you just want to reach up here and click the Identified toggle. It'll change its name to Dried Silphium, and the description will now match this block here. For the sake of this, we're going to keep it unidentified. Furthermore, any one of the handouts that you're going to encounter in the module, like the Dearest Invitation as found in the cloakroom, also are going to have corresponding items in case you don't want to hand them out the way I just showed you. You can instead take the Dearest Invitation, like is shown here, and simply drag and drop it into the respective player's inventory, which is going to be something that they can hold on to and even keep along with the rest of their note keeping. From here, that's all of the first floor. Let's have our dear cleric be the one to lead us on this tour as she heads up to the second floor. As soon as you hit the stairwell, you're going to have the option of which floor you would like to go to. Let's go to the second floor as we begin to meander around. The only thing worth noting, I believe, on this floor is once we go in here, we have the secret room with the chest. Your players will not be able to see this door. You, the DM, will. And of course, when we reach our way into the conservatory. Now, the conservatory has a singular functionality, and that is the secondary tile that we host outside the map, which you might have seen called Waltz for Clara. This is an original composition by I believe at Friendly Games or Friendly Plays, I'm so sorry if I'm forgetting that right off the hat, who has composed an original score of a waltz on the harpsichord. Now, rather than listen to the full thing, we're instead going to cut this short by just going here and pressing the pause button. But that full song duration is a little over 2 minutes, which is a good amount of time to go into this area and read this block of text. So if you're looking to coordinate these, by the time you finish reading and narrating this with a very dramatic cadence, should be the exact same runtime of the song. So by the time it reaches its ends, you should be on the last paragraph, as long as you are reading it with that sort of dramatic bravado. But regardless, that is it for the second floor in terms of anything that is special. We're going to want to go back to the stairway and make our way to the third floor, where we encounter our first enemy. Now, this animated armor here, again, is visible to you, the DM. However, to everyone else, this is an invisible actor. Now, while your players won't be able to see it, you, the DM, will. If you want to make it so your characters can't see it, simply toggle the visibility state, and they will get their little surprise round against their adversary. If you want to instigate a combat, simply select the tokens you're looking to fight, right-click them once they're all selected, and click Toggle Combat State. Then when you navigate over to the Combat Encounters tab on the right-hand side, you'll be able to roll initiative for each one of the respective combatants. And once you have that going, all you got to do is click Begin Encounter and initiative will start. Now, there are certain modules that exist in the marketplace that help spruce up the flow of combat, such as the Ripper 93's Combat Carousel. However, we'll leave that to your discretion on how you want to handle the fine minutia of combat. But regardless, win or lose, once the combat has concluded, you can either delete the token, mark it invisible, whatever have you, and carry on with the rest of the area. Now, the next item for the third floor is going to be the approaching of the Master Suite. Now, there's a specific event that happens when you first approach the Master Suite, which will automatically pause the game for your players, and only for the Game Master will the journal entry to the Master Suite automatically open. This is because there's supposed to be a little cutscene and you don't want your players tripping ahead. If you don't want this, you can always go into your tile selection and deactivate this tile using this toggle right here before it ever reaches there, and carry it at your own cadence, whether or not you want to use that or not. And then finally, once your players make their way into the nursemaid suite and have their interaction with the nursemaid in the mirror, once again, secret doors that only you, the GM, can see before ascending to the attic. In the attic, we have our first little bits of fine tiling and detailing, where you can see that there's a little bit of a dynamic perspective there, with the locked rooms with the actors to both Thorn and Rose. Again, both hidden actors that you can make appear and tangible with a little bit of ghostly lighting with their presence, as well as small little inputs in the journal entry that'll notate the items that are in this room, such as Rose's diary, which allows for the casting of Mending Light and Shocking Grasp. All right, and then finally, we'll get into the last tile, which if we look outside the map here, we can see is the attic stairs lock. Now, by default, this is enabled, meaning that if a player makes their way down the spiral staircase, once they reach the bottom, they will be automatically teleported to the next scene with no hijinks required from the DM. Now, if you want to have manual control of when your players swap between scenes, you can simply click this button and it will disable that tile as do not function. For the demonstration of the video, we're going to leave that enabled. Let's return now to our cleric in the attic and begin our descent down the spooky stairwell. Once again, the time trigger will pop up, reminding you of the time, and we will begin right down here. As you begin to wind your way, first things your players are going to notice is that it is dark. I believe this character is an elf, or dwarf rather, so they have dark vision by default. However, if they don't and they choose to use a torch, be sure to right-click their token and go into token settings, go into light, set the radius of their torch. I believe torches emits 40 feet of vision, 20 of which is bright. You can set a little color if you want to make it a little dynamic. Let's make it orange, and you give it an animation. For this example, let's just say it's a bright little torch. All right, so now we have a torchbearer in these dark and dank crypts. Now, these in the family crypts, I believe, only have one unique functionality, which is the one that is supposed to be meant for Walter Durst. A creepy little sound effect will play for anyone who gets near or enters the crypt of the little ghastly baby cooing, the nursemaid trying to soothe her, and the gross little flesh pustules in the wall sort of undulating and making all sorts of unholy noises. Carrying on, nothing very remarkable about the cultist quarters. As we make our way in here, getting close to the well, we'll start playing a very subtle little drippy ambience track, if you give that a listen. And let's make our way over to the trap. Now, heading over to the trap, as soon as a player walks over without checking, will it automatically roll for the damage, which is 2d10 from the impalement and 1d6 from the fall, and they'll be knocked prone. Now, for this poor cleric, they did just get one shot by this strat, which is debilitating. So let's restore her to full HP and take off her prone condition. Now from here, the trap is now revealed. The players can now walk over it without incident if they do a small little running jump, as to not repeat. However, if you ever do want to reuse or reset it, simply go into Tile Controls, right-click the tile, hide it, and reactivate the tile. And it's good to go again. From here, you can move your character over and we can see the dining hall here with the hidden Grick that is in the larder and the ghoul encounter that is in this hallway. Now you can use your arrow keys to navigate if any of them sort of land over, but from here you can prepare your little ambush and have the ghouls come bursting out of the walls and jump your party. Moving from here, you can go into the Dark Lord Shrine where we have this statue of Strahd and a bunch of hidden shadows which will only become aggressive if anyone does try to take the gemstone from Strahd's hand. However, if they do, they will be rewarded with a nifty little crystal orb, which is going to be worth a handful of gold pieces and be able to be used as an arcane focus. Moving from here, we'll make our way into the cult leader's quarters, which is going to have our hidden little boneless flayed monster conveniently hiding in the chest should they open the footlocker. Inside you will see another item, which is this fancy cloak, which is actually a cloak of protection, which has the same identification rule as the Sylphium that we saw in the kitchen. Exiting here, we can make our way, let's just go ahead and drag and drop and teleport us through the walls until we reach the stairwell. Now the stairwell should automatically teleport your tokens into the next section and you'll find yourself in the reliquary. Now the reliquary splits into two places, which is the portcullis and the prison. If you go through the prison, you have the skeleton with the golden ring on its hand, as well as the secret entry to the ritual chamber. The ritual chamber has these perpetual droplets dropping in from the ceiling, giving it this sort of dark and dank motif, while also having an ambient track playing. If I shut up, you'll be able to hear it just barely. And there are more functionalities in this dynamic little boss arena. The first things first is that these areas are all one-way walls around the perimeter, meaning that if you have the high ground, you'll be able to jump into the water and make a little bit of a splash. There are also sound effects for wading through the water that play on a low chance, so not every time you move through will you hear the sound, but when you re-emerge onto dry ground, will you no longer be in difficult terrain, and you will not hear those sounds as you begin to step around. Finally, we have the boss itself, the Flesh Mound. Once the Flesh Mound emerges from its invisible state and you begin your combat, will it be able to use its custom step block? Now, there are certain few things here. Number one, instead of having legendary action, most boss monsters in Curse of Strahd Reloaded use reactions. Rather, they have sets of 3. However, the native system only allows for 1 reaction. This change fixes that. So reactive is an item that has 3 charges. Whenever you use one of these reactions, like Squelch, and we go to our chat messages here, we can click Consume Resource, and it will automatically deduct one of the charges of their reactions. At the beginning of the turn, if this monster is in combat, it will automatically regain these charges, so you kind of have something that's always tracking those usages for you. Then next up, we have Heavy Sleeper. If you're able to get to the ritual chamber before the witching hour, the Fleshman will have a trait called Lethargic. Now, Lethargic will be a little reminder that, and if you click this little apply button in chat, it will apply the relative debuffs and also let you know throughout all of these which features are active and which ones are not. So, for example, if its Heavy Sleeper feature is active, which in this case it is, it can't use the slam attack more than once, and it can't use the engulf on the same turn it uses its slam. Significantly nerfed encounter here. making it a much less of a threat. And then finally, the last bit is its instinctual defense, which if we go ahead and knock this flesh mound down 93 hit points, will it be able to use its transformation effect. From here, it'll change its stat block into Walter the Graveborn, which has a full new everything in here for you, which is going to have all of its new abilities, such as Innocent Heart, Mother's Lullaby, new attack action, new bonus action, new reactions, and it should regain its thing at full HP. You will have to reapply the Heavy Sleeper debuff, but aside from that, it should function exactly and organically, keep its initiative while it is in combat, and all of that fun stuff. Finally, once the Flesh Mound is defeated, you should be able to make your way out from the way you can. And on your way out, will you be encountered by Gustav Durst, who you will need to persuade before you're able to lead. But from there, it's just mostly backtracking all the way back through the Death House of which that it has been presented. And once you've made it back out into the Durst Manor, and have reconvened with all of your allies and begin to exit the house, there's nothing so grandiose like an animated collapse or whatever have you of the house behind being destroyed. However, you will find yourselves now within the Valley of Barovia. From there, you will be able to activate other arcs as they complete. We're currently almost done with Arc B and then working on preliminary Arc C, and so on and so forth. We hope this tutorial was helpful for anyone who's looking to run a game on their own, and we hope that you join us by the time we release our next and future arcs. Please feel free to leave us any comments, considerations, or questions that you may have in regards to Foundry, the arcs, or any technical support issues, or even bugs. Please report any and all bugs that you find to us, and we will have that fixed as soon as we can. And we thank you so much for your attention. We hope you have a wonderful day.